Andy, some films are really bad, but we love them anyway. So, today we're going to take a look at a couple of our guilty pleasures, because not every film that you love has to be great.
We want to know what each other's guilty pleasures are.
You have chosen 3. I've chosen
Yeah.
3. Let's get it out there. Start us off. What's your first guilty pleasure?
The Day After Tomorrow. And it's so bad. I actually went to the cinemas and saw this twice.
John, you went twice?
I did, yeah. This is Roland Emmerich, by the way, for those who don't know. And it's a natural disaster film, and it's totally out the fucking box because it's shit happens. The world goes to shit because of climate change and global warming. But to the point where you have like multiple tornadoes in LA, and it's this madness that happens on such a quick scale. Environmental disaster film, but I love it. And I love it because the amount of times that I've sat there hungover watching this on TV with a blanket around me, watching how cold it gets whilst thinking, bloody hell, I'm so comfy. You got Dennis Quaid being Dennis Quaid. You got a young Jake Gyllenhaal trying to be cute and all this. And I actually watched it last night, Andy. That's how sad I am. I watched it last night to get myself in the mood with guilty pleasures, and I fell asleep during it. So it's not the best film in the world, but God, I fucking love it. It's just it's visually really good looking, one could argue. It's heavily CGI'd, so if you don't like CGI, then it's probably not good looking. I like it, and that's what matters.
So I'm going to start us off with something that's festive. It's Jingle All The Way. So
Wow.
Jingle All The Way, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, is a film that I will put on pretty much every Christmas. It doesn't deal with the normal sort of like Santa Claus or the message of Christianity. It doesn't deal with sort of like fantasy around Christmas. It's totally about like commercial consumerism with a bit of a tongue in cheek. It's like there's scenes in it that are like borderline offensive. There's stuff in there that is just purely consumeristic nonsense. And yet I find it just so thoroughly entertaining. There's something daft about the Christmas period, and there is something so thoroughly daft about Jingle All The Way. This year, I have yet to watch it, and I can't wait to watch it. Next year, looking forward to watching it again. Next 20 years of my life, 20 more times I can watch it.
Second guilty pleasure is The Devil Wears Prada. A phenomenal film, and fight me if you don't say so, because this is just Meryl Streep absolutely killing it, and one of my favourite performances of her. You got Anne Hathaway, who's this kind of cute that becomes like naive, that becomes like kind of like very intelligent person that kind of like owns the industry. Stanley Tucci is my favourite role by him by far. I think he's absolutely incredible at this, and it's this whole film about the fashion industry and how toxic it can be, and how Anne Hathaway's character kind of like creates her own path, but then she says no to it. And you know what? It delivers with sass. It delivers with these incredible scenes. I love it. It delivers on every bit of sass.
Number 2 for me, Andy, you got to feel the rhythm and feel the rhyme, because get on up, it's bobsleigh time.
Oh, Cool Runnings.
Cool Runnings is
That's
film.
not a guilty pleasure at all.
I think if you look at it through a critical lens now, it doesn't hold up. What Cool Runnings is a fantastic kids film, right? It doesn't struggle to make any sort of like deep thematic message. There's a little bit of, like prejudice and racism sort of like embedded into it. But ultimately it's 4 people with John Candy as well. So you're talking about 5 people who have incredible chemistry together. Obviously it's loosely based on the real story of the 1988 like debut for them, to Jamaica that is, at the National Bobsleigh. And I think that Cool Runnings adds this weird sort of like hyperbolic spin to it, and it still gets quoted today. I still hear people in my family, in my friendship circles, quoting Cool Runnings all the time. It's just fun. That's all it is.
I completely get it. Great film. So my final choice is The Phantom Menace, which could be controversial because to some that could not be a guilty pleasure at all.
Isn't that
but
a good
for
one?
anyone
No?
who's the prequel trilogy were notoriously quite bad. George Lucas going a bit crazy. However, compared to the sequel trilogy, which is absolutely shite, and again, fight me, we grew up on Star Wars. We were of that age when the prequel trilogy came out, and countless times around each other's houses, we would sit down and watch Phantom Menace. Yes, it has Jar Jar. Yes, it's got a whole politic thing about trade unions, and it's got like some rad stuff. But my God, this has got some of the best lightsaber battles in the entire franchise. It's got the pod racing, and I fucking love the pod racing in this film. It's got a kid whose best line is, "Are you an angel?" Take that how you will. But But like for me, it's encapsulates my childhood. But at the same time, a lot of the wonder and what I had for the Star Wars. I mean, I grew up on the original trilogy, but then seeing this come out in the cinema and be like wowed by this new experience, this new lore that came to thing. And I know the lore's not amazing, but it was fantastic and I loved it. And to some, it's controversial. To some, it's guilty. I love the Phantom Menace. It's up there as one of my favorite Star Wars films.
Andy, I think you copped out. I'm going to give you a real guilty pleasure because number one for me is Green Lantern. Because
God said that is rough.
that is practically the poster child at this point for a bad film. When people want to reference a bad film or a failed franchise, they talk about Green Lantern. The film is not good. It's not good in any respect. It's also Martin Campbell who directed it, coming off of Casino Royale.
Oh God, really?
Absolute dive off a cliff. But Green Lantern, for me, I was getting into the Jeff Johns Green Lantern run from the DC Comics in I want to say 2009, maybe 2010, sort of reading it alongside the Green Lantern core. And if you ask anybody who's into comics, they'll tell you that particular run really reinvigorated the character. It's the popularity of that particular run and the way in which it elevated Green Lantern in the comic book realm that actually got him this film. A lot of this film is based off of Jeff Johns' run. I don't think it's particularly well cast as a whole. I don't think it's well performed. I don't think it's well written, and I don't think it's got any particularly interesting action sequences. It's abysmal all around. But what Green Lantern is for me is this joyous little revisit where I can revisit that incredible run that Jeff Johns did and just get this sort of fast food version of it.
Fast food version. That's a good way of putting it.
But anyway, there's Green Lantern. There is our shame laid bare. Let us know what some of your guilty pleasures are down in the comments below, because I really want to see these. Everyone's got guilty pleasures. Let's share them around.
I'm eager to hear.
So until next time, get watching.